Hello, everyone. I just want to make sure that we are truly live before I get started. Um, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today on Bridging the Gap one-on-one with Minister LaTorcha. And I am super excited to be here. This is the first Thursday of the year, and I am just excited about what God is doing. So please let me know if you can see me live on Facebook, if you can see me live, so that we can move forward. I'm going to take some time to tag some people. This is new for me because I'm doing it through StreamYard, and I have not did StreamYard, but I know that God is going to do it. Hello, Melina. How are you? Congratulations. Congratulations. So if you're on, go ahead and share. Go ahead and tag some people that you know may need to hear a word from the Lord today. Just go ahead and tag them in it right now. And again, this is Minister LaTorcha. This is Bridging the Gap one-on-one with Minister LaTorcha. And I am just super excited to be here today. I'm super excited to be on just to talk to you about everything that God is doing for me, everything that God is doing for you all. It's just been such an amazing time with what God is doing and how He's moving in this new year. And so I am just here to let you know, on when I posted it on Facebook, I put, this is the day. And this is the day. This is the day that the Lord hath made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. And when I say this is the beginning of a new year, this is the time that we can start off fresh. We always talk about new beginnings and moving forward in what God is asking us to do. But my question to you today is, what has God asked you to do that you were supposed to do last year, and now you felt that because you didn't get it in that time, that you're not going to be able to move in what God is asking you to move in? When I can honestly say to you that this is the time that you can still revamp what God has told you. This is the time that you can still move forward in the things that God has spoken over your life and told you to do. This is the day. Every day is a new day. Every day is a new day for us to start fresh with our family, with our relationships, with people that we know, with people that we love. Today is the day. So, as I was thinking about, what to talk about, and I was like, God, Bridging the Gap one-on-one with Minister LaTorcha, I always have a guest, or majority of the time I have guests. There's been a couple of times that I've come on and I did not have a guest, but today he wanted me to let you know that this is the day. Today is the day that you can move forward in everything that you have placed before God. This is the day that you can take that determined step into the destiny that He has for you this year. This is the year of greatness. This is the year of overcoming. This is the year of breakthrough. So I don't know what you have laid before the Lord. And many of us in our churches, we are about to start our fast. We're about to start our 21-day fast. Some churches may do 7 days. Some may do 21 days. Some may just wait until a different time of the year. But majority of the churches will start their fasting in the beginning of the year. And, this is the time for you to hit the reset button. This is the time for you to pull yourself away and seek God on behalf of what you want for the year. You know, we talk about fruits. And when we talk about first fruits, you know, it is normally around what we're going to tithe into the church for the year. But also, this is the time of the first fruits. What are you giving God to say that this is how I want the rest of my year to go? What are you committed into for God to move forward? And, you know, when I was with my prayer partner and we was praying, there's some things that, you know, the Lord was revealing to me. You know, one of the things that he revealed to me was it was a construction block. And it was people that was on the path that I had to go down, but it was construction. They had the barriers out. They had the people with the hard hats. They had the vest. But with my natural eye, as I saw the construction, the first thing that I thought is, I can't go this way. There's a hindrance to me moving. There's a hindrance to where I'm going in God. So I can't go that way. But the truth of the matter is, it didn't stop me. Because the more that I took another step, the closer I got to the barricade, the closer I got to what was there that in my natural eyes should have blocked me. In my natural eyes should have kept me from moving forward in God. In my natural eyes, it hindered me from taking that next step. But when God was telling me, step forward, just move in what I'm calling you to move in, because there are provisions on the path. That even in the path where it may look like you're not gonna move, where it look like that they're gonna stop you at every chance they get, you know, where it looks like that it's not gonna come the way that you want it to come. The truth of the matter is, when you move in God, that God will make a way. When you move in God, God is going to, how Pastor Apostle Molly, when you move in God, God is going to get you in a position that no matter what the enemy tries to set up for you, no matter what the enemy tries to do, that if God is telling you that you have to go to the other side, it may look like the enemy is going to stop you. It may look like the enemy is trying to keep you from stepping into what God is calling you to do. But the one thing that I do know about God, that God will make a way where there seemed to be no way. But we have to be determined. We have to have a made up mind to say that we're going to move forward, that I'm going to step, regardless of what it looks like. You know, all hell may be breaking loose. You know, there are some things that transpired today for me that honestly, the enemy should have told me. You was trying to keep me from coming on here tonight and let you know that if God be for you, who could be against you? That no matter what the enemy may try to do, that God has already made a way of escape when you just put your trust in him. You know, many times we look at what the enemy is doing, and we're looking at how he's putting roadblocks and how he's trying to stop us. And then we start stutter stepping. We start questioning, is this what God is calling us to do? But if God has already spoken it to you, if God has already sent a prophet, an apostle, someone to speak over your life, then he's telling you, now is the time for you to move forward. That if I have said it, then I am telling you that it's already done. You know, and as I looked at that, the construction in my path, it looked like I couldn't get through. It looked like it was something that was going to stop me. But the Lord was showing me that though you may have something in your way, in the natural, it does not stop what I'm doing for you in the spiritual. Then you have to, you know, the Lord said that we have to walk by faith, not by sight. Because sight is something that will keep us from going to the next level. Sight will cause us to wonder, did God really call us? Because the people are not applauding like we want them to applaud. The people are not coming up behind you like you want them to come up behind you. But God is saying, who do you trust? Who report are you going to believe? You know, we're stepping into a newness. We're stepping into a new year. We're stepping into a new transition. We're stepping into a new season. We're stepping into newness. And whenever you have to step into newness, there's something that you have to leave behind. There's something that you have to let go of. There's something that you have to say that, you know, I can't take this with you. You know, many of us are like Abraham. Even though God told us to move and to leave from our country and go to the place that he has purposed us to go in, we will leave the ones that we commonly see. But one thing that Abraham did was he took Lot with him. He stepped forward with Lot. And God didn't say take Lot with you. God said leave everything behind and move forward into what I'm telling you. And in this year, how you doing, Miss Jenny? In this year, there's going to be some people that we're going to have to let go of. There's going to be some things that we're going to have to stop. There's going to be some places and that we're going to have to turn our back on. Not that we don't love them, not that we don't want them to prosper, that we don't want them to step into what God is calling them. But there's going to have to be a time where we have to look forward in what God is telling us. And we're going to have to let go of the ones who's trying to hold us down. Let go of the ones because we're so busy, because we want everyone to be saved. We're so busy trying to pull people along. And we're so busy trying to drag people. And we're so busy trying to push people that we are exhausted. And the ones that we're pushing, the one that we're dragging, the one that we're telling to come on, they're not really in a place where they're ready to take the next step. And so all of our effort and all of our energy that we are supposed to put into what God is telling us to do, we're trying to be there to push everyone else on. But there has to be a time that we have to run this race and we have to cross the finish line. And then we're able to cross the finish line and then look back and cheer them on. Look back. And, when I was in the military, one of the things when we had our PT test is we had to focus on what time we crossed the finish line, because that determined whether we passed or failed the test. And then once we got over the finish line, then when we had the energy, we would go back and assist the ones who were struggling in the run, the ones that we knew that the time was getting close to them to fail. But if we never crossed the line ourselves, then we failed our test, and then we didn't have the chance to go back and help anyone else. And so what am I saying to you today? Run the race, cross the finish line, do what God is calling you to do. And then go back and pull, then go back and assist, then go back and be the cheerleader for those who are still trying to make it to the other side, that's trying to cross the finish line. When we get to that place in God, when we get to that place when we trust God, no matter what it looks like, Dr. Chanel, thank you for joining. We have to really get into a place where we trust God. And I would love to say that it's easy. I would love to sit here and say that when we put our hands to the plow, when we give God a true yes, that is going to be easy. But the truth of it is, we're going to have to continue to fight. We have to fight the good fight of faith. And in that fight, and I don't know about you, but there's been times where I've gone through a fight and I didn't want to fight anymore, but then I had to fight to get up, and I had to fight to press in. I had to fight to make it another day. I have to fight to make it another minute, because the fight never stops. The battle never stops. There may be a time where there's a ceasefire. There may be a time where you're transitioning and the battle is not as hard. But guess what? You're always going to have to continue to move forward in what God is calling you to do. And I am just excited about what God is doing in this season. I'm excited about how God is really calling his men and calling his women to the forefront to really decide, make up your mind, in this year, I'm going to be committed. I'm going to be committed to Bible study. I'm going to be committed to prayer. I'm going to be committed to fasting. I'm going to be committed to loving my neighbor as I love myself. And then be committed to truly love yourself. Many of us have struggled. Life has really hasn't been easy. There's been a struggle, and it seems like every time you get ahead, something else come up. Every time something else, once you overcome that situation, how you doing, Miss Sandra? Something else comes up, and then you wonder, am I ever going to have to stop fighting? Am I ever going to be in a place where I can just catch my breath? But one thing I can tell you, that if we understand who we are and understand whose we are, the battles may not lessen, But the fight in the battle is going to be different. And I know you're wondering, Minister LaTorcha, what do you mean by that? What I mean is when you really understand who's in the battle with you, when you really understand that it's a fixed fight, when you really understand that you don't have to swing as hard and go in as hard when you have God on your side. When you realize, we are constantly trying to understand that this is my identity. I've always been a fighter. I've always had to fight. I've always, been this. I've always acted like this. I've always treated people this way. Well, there has to come a time where we surrender and submit ourselves to God and allow God to truly show us who we are in Him. Because if our identity is in our battle, then we're constantly saying that we don't have peace. We're going to constantly say that we're not moving in what God is saying. But when we get to a place in God that we really truly understand who we are and whose we are. And I think that's the biggest thing for us as Christians, that we have an identity crisis where we say with our mouth one thing, but in our heart we believe something else. We say that we are going to be overcomers, but yet in our heart we feel defeated because we don't know our identity. And so one of the things that we really have to do in the beginning of this year is have a made up mind, one. Two, put it all in God's hands. Put God first in everything that you do, no matter big or small. Put God first, because there's going to be things that's going to show up, and then you're going to have to make a decision, and you're going to have to make sure that you put God first. God, is this what you want me to do? One thing I loved about David is before he went into any battle, he asked God, do I fight? Is this a battle that I go into? Is this a battle that I fight? And you may have to take time to really understand the names of God. Because if you have not understand him as a healer, then you can't call him a healer. But the thing that I love about God is he's no respecter of person. So if he have healed a brother or a sister, a friend or a foe that we know, then he'll heal me. If he's delivered somebody that I know, then he can surely deliver me. But we're so busy trying to portray that we have it together. We're so quick to tell God that, make it seem as if God has forgotten about us. There's so many things that God has for us, but we don't achieve it. We don't grab hold to it because we forget. God, can I move or do I stand still? God, do I fight today or do I stand still? When the beginning of the year, one of the things that God said to me, he said, 1, 2, 3, green light. And I don't know about you all, but there used to be a game that I played as a child, and you would have someone who was in charge, someone who was designated, and they would say 1, 2, 3, green light. And you would run as fast as you could to get to the person, because once you tagged the person, then you won, and you was the one now able to call out the commands. And we would run and we would run, and the person would say red light. And red light means you had to stop and you couldn't move. You couldn't go further. And one of the things that the Lord said to me today, because if we'll look at it, this is the first month of 2023. So we're going to take off the 20 and we're going to have the first month of 23. 1, 2, 3, green light. And what God told me is, you're the only one that can call red light. I have given you the green light to run and make it to every place that I've called you to do. I've given you the green light to go forward and let my people know who I am. I've given you the green light to step into your promises. I've given you the green light to step into the purpose that I've given you. I've given you the green light to go forward and make disciples. I've given you the green light to go in and possess the land. I've given you the green light to cross over to the other side. I've given you the green light to move into what you're supposed to move into. So right now, if there's anything that you have and it's causing you to stop, I need you to check your light, because are you looking at the green light, or are you allowing yourself to call red light? It's time for us to move forward, because there's so many people that need to know that God is God. There's so many people that's hurting. There's so many people that's lost. There's so many people that's trying to find our way, and they're just wondering, God, have you forgotten about me? God, do you really love me? God, do you even hear my prayers? Because it seemed like all hell is breaking loose in my life. But that's because there's many of us that has a sound, but we have not placed our sound out into the atmosphere. We have not moved in the authority that God has given us, because we have called red light. We have called ourselves to be stuck. We have called ourselves not to move. And you know, one thing that I will always do, I found myself doing, is it had to be perfect. Oh, before I could step out and do it, I had to have the right website. I had to have the right LLC. I had to have the right this. I had to have the right wording. I had to have the right this, that, and the other. It had to be perfect. But what I learned is my perfection was really my procrastination, because I was keeping myself from moving and doing what God has called me to do. And when you get to a place when you understand that God has given you the green light, whatever it is, God has given you the green light. If God has spoken into your life, if he has sent a prophet, if he sent an apostle, if he has sent your pastor to speak a word over your life, then he is telling you that you have 1, 2, 3 green lights, meaning that you can move boldly in what God is calling you. You don't have to worry about who's around you. You don't even have to worry about if you have the right people, because in this season, God is weeding out the ones that's not supposed to be there. He's weeding out the ones that we have to let go of. And I was listening to a sermon the other day, and the pastor was saying, he said, many of us, instead of walking in discernment, we're walking in trauma triggers. And when I say that hit me, because for those who have gone through trauma, you understand that a trauma trigger is something that will cause you to go back into that situation of the trauma. It will cause you to fall back into that place where you was hurt, or the trauma, you fall right back into the trauma. And so the trigger could be a smell, the trigger could be a sound, the trigger can be the voice of someone that will cause you to go back into that place of the trauma. But many of us are now moving in trauma triggers, meaning we are looking at someone and we're saying, oh, my discernment is saying this person is not a good person. When what you're really dealing with is your trauma triggers, because you're having a problem trusting people around you, you're having a problem trusting yourself, then now you're trying to displace that on other people. You're now moving it and saying, well, this person may be the one doing it, or that person may be the one doing it, or are they just, it's just something about them that my discernment is telling me. But is it truly your discernment? Or is it your trauma triggers? Is it something that you have walked through and you've been hurt and broken? So now you have your gall up, and you have your guard up, and you have your walls up, and now you're moving in a place. How you doing, Prophetess Judy? How Miss Denise? Thank you for joining. Could it be that what you're dealing with is not because you're moving in discernment, but you're moving in brokenness? Could it be that you're not moving in discernment? You're moving in heartbreak. You're moving in disappointments. You're moving in rejection. You're moving in the things that, you know, have caused you to be in a place of stagnation. Could it be that you know that God has called you for a purpose, and you know what that purpose is, and you don't know how to move forward because you keep saying that it's not the right timing right now. Everything is not falling in line the way that I wanted it to fall in line. But if the children of Israel had to have it perfect before they left out of Egypt, would they have really left out of Egypt? They didn't even have time to let the bread rise. They had to get up and get out speedily. And you know, and I feel and I know that God is saying in this season, there's a suddenly. There's a suddenly. And we need to move and be able to react in the suddenly. We have to be able to move as God is calling us. You know, we get so caught up in trying to figure it out. Well, God, you asked me to come to the store, and he said, I need you to speak to this person. Now you're trying to figure out within your flesh what's wrong with the person. What are they dealing with? What am I supposed to say? But instead of just stepping into what God is saying, and it may just be a smile, it may just be you saying hello, it may just be God saying, I just want to see, are you going to be obedient to do what I say do? Because we have to be able to make a determined step towards what God is doing. How are you doing, Evangelist Dominique? We have to make a determined step. We have to have our mind so made up that for God I live and for God I die. And so this is the beginning of the year. This is the beginning of 2023. And you have time to accomplish everything that God is calling you to do. But you have to be the one to remember that you have the 1, 2, 3 green light. And you have permission from God to go out and possess the land. You have permission from God to go out and spread his name. You have permission to go out and make disciples. You have permission to go out and change the lives of people that have been placed on your path. We are so busy trying to figure it out. But there's a suddenly that's shaking in the spirit. There's a suddenly that's happening right now that we really have to step into what God is calling us to step in. When we talk about Habakkuk, have you written the vision? What is the vision that God has given you? What has he told you that he wants you to do in the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter? What is it that God is asking you to do, but yet you're so busy trying to figure it out? And I'm going to go ahead and be honest and let you know that the distractions are going to come. When you have purpose in your mind that I'm going to move for God no matter what, that I'm going to move from God come hell or high water, I'm going to step into what God is calling me to step in, the distractions are going to come. Your family going to cut up. Your finances going to dry up. People are going to come and try to keep you off track of what God is telling you to do. But we have to now understand that it's the little foxes. It's the little things that pop up that keep our attention from what God is saying. It's the little distractions. It's the little arguments. It's the little disappointments. It's the little rejections that cause us to stand still. And now we want to fight, but we're fighting against people. We wrestle not against flesh and blood. In this season, as we're stepping into the newness, as we're stepping into the new year, as we're stepping into our new purpose, our new direction, our new guidance, let's not move the same way that we moved last year. Let's not go the same path that we went last year. Let's seek God for specific instructions and strategies, Miss Christian, on how we are to move forward in God. Because when we allow God to give us the instructions, I promise you that no matter what comes, you're going to make it to what God is saying. No matter what may happen, you're going to still do what God is calling you to do because you have placed your hand in his unchanging hands. And I always say, it's something about when you put your hand, when he have you in his hand. When I used to walk with Kiana, and Kiana, I would have her hand. When she would trip and almost fall, because I had her in my hands, that I was able to keep her from falling. I was able to lift her up. I was able to keep her from scraping her knee because she was in my hands. And because we're in God's hands, there's times that we'll open up our hands and we want to let go of what God is doing. We want to let go of how God is doing it and what God is saying because of so much coming on, because we're becoming so tired, because we're dealing with situations where it didn't turn out the way we thought it should turn out. We want to let go, but God will not let us go because he has us in the palm of his hands. And when you're moving forward, remember that because God has us, he has us in his unchanging hands. That we're not going to fall, that we're not going to, we're not going to get in a place where we're going to be down and out. There's going to be things that's going to happen in our lives that make us wonder, God, do you love me? God, but you told me to go this way. And as I'm moving in this way, it seemed like everything is coming against me. God, you told me to move. You told me to relocate. You told me to do this. And now it seemed like I'm struggling even more when I started moving and doing what you're calling me to do. But I am here to tell you that God is trying to get you to a place where you trust him and only him. That you lean on him and only him. As we're moving forward in 2023, as we left 2022 and we're stepping into 2023, 1, 2, 3, green light. Run the race with diligence. Run the race with determination. Run the race so that you can cross over the finish line. Because it's something about when you cross over the finish line, now you can turn around and root and cheer on the other ones that's running behind you. You're able to come alongside of them and tell them that this is what God did. One thing I love about my spiritual mom is she has crossed the finish line. And each time she's running a different race and she's crossing the finish line. But one thing I love, she goes back and she always cheers us on. She's always giving us instructions. She's always telling us how to run, how to catch our place. We have to remember that as we're running this race, that God has people positioned to help cheer us on. He has people positioned that's going to get us to the other side. He has people positioned that will tell us that you can make it, that you're going to be all right. Hello, Miss Deborah. That he has people positioned so that we can move strategically, that we can move how God is calling us to move. So this is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. But I want you to take it a little further. This is the day that I overcome. This is the day. And guess what? Every day could be this day. Every day could be this day. So you can wake up tomorrow when you lay down tonight. If it's something that you didn't accomplish yesterday, then guess what? When you wake up in the morning, this is the day. This is the day that I walk in peace. This is the day that I walk in joy. This is the day that I am an overcomer. This is the day that I'm standing in expectation, believing and trusting God. This is the day. And God give us new mercies every morning. And every morning that we get up, we can say, this is the day that the Lord has made. This is the day that I'm going to speak to someone about who Christ is. This is the day that I'm going to make a disciple. This is the day that I'm not going to allow my distractions to keep me. This is the day that I'm not going to allow my depression to keep me in the bed. This is the day that I have a made up mind. And you know, we want to make it big, but some of us may just be able to say, this is the day that I brush my teeth. This is the day that I put on clothes. This is the day that I'm able to step into the shower because you have accomplished that day. This is the day. So whatever it is that you feel that you didn't do in 2022, that you didn't accomplish in 2022, guess what? This is the day in 2023 that you can make a difference. This is the day that you can step into your purpose. This is the day that we fight. Oh, when I tell you today, I had to get into my secret closet. Today was the day that I had to call out, Abba, Father, it's me, oh Lord, that's standing in need of prayer. But then it was something about when I got into the prayer room, when I got into my secret closet and I laid down and I was weeping and crying and I was telling God what was on my heart and telling God what was going on and asking him, what is the directions that you want me to do? What do you want me to do, God? And then there was a stillness that came over me that I was able to lay laid there and tears were still rolling from my eyes, but there was a boldness that rose up on the inside of me. And I started going into warfare because I knew then, devil, you can't have what's mine. This is the day I fight for what is mine. This is the day that I've made up in my mind that you will not take one more thing from me. This is the day that I go into the enemy's camp and I take back everything that the enemy has taken from me. And guess what? Today is the day. This is the day that I went in and took some things that I actually gave over to the devil. This is the day. This is the day that we gird up our loins. This is the day that we stand flat-footed. This is the day that we be still and know that he is God. This is the day that we will stand still and see the salvation. This is the day that we seek his face and understand that he knows the plans that he has for us. This is the day. And I say it again every day, this is the day. So when you wake up in the morning, you speak into your day. This is the day that I have joy. This is the day that I have peace. And whatever your situation is, I know, let's just be honest, because 2022 ended, don't mean the things that we dealt with in 2022 ended. That some things was able to roll over. Some things came in that we didn't want to come into 2023. And I truly believe that this will be the year of greatness. This will be the year that you walk into the fullness of who God is. This will be the year. But there are some things that did try to roll into 2023 from 2022. But guess what? This is the day that you will no longer move further in my life. This is the day that I'm going to face, because many of us, I can't speak for you, I can just speak for me, that I allow some things to step into 2023 because I didn't want to deal with it. I didn't want to close it. I didn't want to have it. I didn't want to face it. So I avoided it. I avoided dealing with it. I avoided finishing it. I avoided it because I didn't want to do it. And it came into 2023. But this is the day that I close it out, because there will be nothing that would hinder me in moving into what God is calling me in this season. And I know that many of you that's watching, or many of you that will watch, you have a made up mind that I'm going into 2023. This is the new me in 2023. Yes, I might look the same. Yes, I might sound the same. But there's something that I've changed in my heart, that have told me that I am an overcomer, that have told me that I can make it, that have told me that I'm more than a conqueror. 2023 is going to be the best year of my life. See, I've spoken that into existence, that 2023 is going to be the best year of my life, because I have a stance that if God be for me, who can be against me? See, I have a stance that I will not turn from what God has called me to do. See, I have a stance that I'm going to move forward, even if I have to do it with tears running down my eyes, even if I have to do it by myself. I've made up in my mind that I'm going to move. I'm going to run this race. And I'm not going to run it in a place where I'm tired. See, many of us have left the lid on our cup. And there seemed to be a perception of an overflow, because the oil has hit the top and is running off the sides. And so it may appear to other people that there's an overflow because the oil is still running down. But it's something about removing the lid, that when you remove the lid, then the oil is able to go on the inside And then the oil, there's going to be an overflow. So there's going to be oil that's going to run over, and it's not going to be the same as when you have the lid over it. It's going to be now, because now I'm filled up from the inside out. And because I'm filled up from the inside out, then there's a change in how I walk. There's a change in what I'm doing. And I'm not moving in a depleted state. You see, when you have the top on, when you have the lid on, then there's nothing getting on the inside. You're just oily on the outside. But when you allow the lid and the top to come off, and you allow God to pull on the inside of you, that you would deal with people from the overflow. You would deal with your situation from the overflow. That you don't even have to get depleted, because you have so much that have spilled over, that now I don't have to fight as hard because I'm in the overflow. I don't have to try to figure it out because now I'm in the overflow. I don't have to struggle and fight because I'm in the overflow. And in the overflow, you can speak those things that be not as though they were. And because you understand who you are in God, and you understand the position that you are in God, then you're going to move in a place that I don't have to worry. Because, when I watched the movie Woman King, one thing they did, they put oil on our body. And so when the oil was on them, that when somebody tried to grab them, when the enemy tried to grab them, they was able to pull free because the enemy could not get a grip. Oh, I need you to check the oil. I need you to check to see, do you have your lid on or is your lid off? Because if your lid is off and now you're being in an overflow, because the lid is off and now the overflow, there's some oil that's on the side that's running down, that when the enemy tries to grab you, you can pull loose. When the enemy is trying to grip you, you can pull loose. When people are trying to pin you in, you can pull loose, because now you're in the overflow. And in the overflow, you can help people. You can pour into people. You can assist people, because you're not moving in a depleted state. You're not trying to keep the oil or find the oil that has fell off. Now you're moving in a different way. Because I don't have to struggle. I don't have to push. Because I have the oil, I can slide into where I need to slide into. Because I have the oil, it's easy for me to get into the place that I need to get into. When a car doesn't have oil in the motor, guess what? When you turn the motor on and it runs for a little while, the whole engine shuts down because of the oil. And when we have a lack of oil and we allow our lid to keep us from being filled from the inside out, we find ourselves being bitter. We find ourselves being angry. We find ourselves shutting down, because now we no longer have what we need to lubricate us to move forward in what God is calling us to do. And we have to understand that if God is calling us to it, He's already prepared what we need. But it's up to us to allow the oil to flow. It's up to us to make a decision that I will not move in 2023 being capped. I won't move in 2023 having limitations, because that's what it is when you put the lid on. You're saying that this is all I could have. This is all I could do. This is all I need. I'm okay with it running down on the sides of me, but I'm not ready for the infilling of the oil. So now it's time for us to move in 2023 with no limits. No limits on God. No limits on our destiny. No limits on our purpose. No limit to the people that we are going to pull out. No limit on how God is going to move in our family. No limit on how our finance is going to be. No limits on us going to the world, to the nations. No limits. Because we serve a God that has no limits. We serve a God that is the I am that I am. We serve a God that is so big, but yet we want to put him in a small box. Take the lid off and watch how God moves in 2023. 23. Take the lid off. As I said earlier, 1, 2, 3, green light. So if you don't know how to tell yourself 1, 2, 3, green light, today I stand here. Today I sit here and say 1, 2, 3, green light. If you need someone to help you move, 1, 2, 3, green light. And guess what? Because I'm running this race with you, I'm not going to call red light because we don't need to stop in this season. So 1, 2, 3, green light. Oh, what is it that we're about to run into? What is it that we're about to overtake? Because there's some things that we have laid up for our families that we have to be able to run in and get it. Run in and tell the enemy you will no longer do this. We have to run in. And it's something about running. It's something about movement. That when you're moving, the anointing is in the movement. The anointing is in the flow. You know, we said that provisions are on the path. But in able to get those provisions that's on the path, you have to move. Oh, and I'm so thankful that he is the lamp upon my feet and the light upon my path. Meaning that even in my dark days, even in my darkest situation, he is the light that's going to show me how to make the next step. He is the light that's going to allow me to know how to move. He is the light that's going to show me how to get to the other side. And I may have to do it step by step. I may have to come to him step by step. Okay, God, I finished step number 1. What's step number 2? Okay, God, I finished step number 2. What's step number 3? And that's not saying that you're procrastinating. That's not saying that you're hindering God. What it is showing God, God, I trust you. And I don't want to move. I don't want to take another step. We're going to have to be like Moses. God, I'm not going to go if your presence doesn't go with me. I'm not going to move. I'm not going to lead. I'm not going to teach. I'm not going to direct. I'm not going to step in position if you don't go with me. Because there's times that we're going to be bleeding. There's going to be times that we're going to be tired. There's going to be times that we don't want to do it. But if God is with us, then there's a push. When God is with us, there's something that we have to do to move forward. And yes, Miss Denise, that is a game, the childhood. And you know, one thing about it, when we say 1, 2, 3, green light, the person who was in charge was the one in control, the one who was calling out the commands because they did not want you to get to them so that you can now be in charge, was the one that had control. And they could let you go or they can make you stop. But right now, I'm letting you know that God is saying you are in control. 1, 2, 3, green light. Move, run. It's time for us as men and women of God. It's time for us as the remnant of God to now move in what God is calling us. It's time for us to move. Move in belief. Move in faith. Move without doubting. Move in our purpose. Move in our direction. Move in what God is calling us to do. It's time for us to move. Because whenever you're in a place and you're cold, they always say, just keep moving. Whatever you do, just keep moving. Because as long as you're moving, then you're going to keep, your body is going to stay warm. Your body is going to produce some heat. So just keep moving. So, you know, sometimes, as Pastor Bessie said in our conference, sometimes you just have to show up. And in showing up means I had to move to get there. I had to move to show up. You know, when you're moving, that friction, that heat will keep you from dying. It will keep you from being cold. It will keep you from being in that place. You're going to have to move. And this season, move. If it's a baby step, move. If it's a giant step, move. If it's a crawl, move. If it's a scoot, move. Because as long as you are moving, as long as you are making an effort to get to what God is calling you to do, that he's going to provide what you need. Because he's going to send someone to come alongside you and say, it's okay, let's do this together. He's going to send someone, you know, and every time the children of Israel fell by the wayside, every time the children of Israel did something wrong and was disobedient, God raised up someone to help bring them out. So just keep moving. Just keep positioning yourself. One of the things that the Lord spoke to me, he said, Proper position produces prosperity. Proper positioning produces prosperity. And you know, a lot of people think that prosperity is money, but prosperity could be peace. Prosperity could be joy. Prosperity could be a made up mind. Prosperity could be, how you doing, Miss Wendell? But prosperity could be that you need peace. I just need joy. I just need a sound mind. Proper positioning produces prosperity. And when you're looking around and you don't see yourself prospering in the areas that you think you should prosper in, I would say to you, look at your position. Are you positioning yourself in prayer? Are you positioning yourself to hear the voice of God? Are you positioning yourself to steal away from people? Are you positioning yourself the right way? Proper positioning is what's going to produce the prosperity. Hey, China, proper positioning. And I am just so thankful how God has put men and women in my life that have pushed me to the next level, have pushed me to make a decision, that have pushed me, to position myself. Oh, when I tell you, today was a day. Today, I wanted to shut every door, close every window, crawl under the bed, not under the covers, under the bed, because I could not understand what was going on. But when I found my proper position in God, when I got into my prayer closet, and when I shut the door behind me, when I say that all I can do is say, God, I thank you. God, I thank you that I didn't lose my mind today. God, I thank you that I didn't do something that I should not have done today. God, I thank you that I continue to move and press. God, I thank you that even when I wanted to keep crying, I found it within myself, because then I realized, wait a minute. And I had to tell myself, laying on the floor with tears flowing from my eyes, you are a child of the Most High God. You are redeemed of God. You are the righteousness of God through Christ Jesus. And I had to speak those things into my own spirit, because I had to get up off the floor. I had to get up from that place, because I knew that God was calling me to do this tonight. And to be honest with you, up until about an hour before I was supposed to come on, I was trying to decide, am I really going to do it? God, you know what I've been through today. Am I really going to come on and tell them that this is the day? Am I really going to come on today, Lord, and tell them that this is the day? When today I didn't want it to, I wanted to give up. Today I just wanted not to fight. I just wanted to lay down and give up. But when there's a fight on the inside, when there's a purpose that's on the inside, when God has called you to another level and another place, you know how to speak to yourself. You have to be like David, and you're going to have to encourage yourself. And I had to speak to myself to get myself off the floor. And I thank God, because when I tell you the peace that I've had the rest of the day, oh, the peace that I have made me realize that as long as I position myself the right way, as long as I go in and I allow my Father to know what's going on with me, when I'm able to go in and to cry out to my Father and tell him, Lord, I can't come in the prayer closet today, and I'm not bringing anybody in with me, that I'm coming in today because it's me that need you. It's me that need the peace. It's me that need the strength. It's me, oh God. And there's going to be times that you're going to have to say, you remember the old song, Rock of Ages, cleft for me. Let me find myself in thee. In other words, Lord, I need you to hide me in the cleft of the rock, and I need you to cover me with your hands, because this is the time that I need to see your glory. I need to know that if you be for me, who can be against me? I need to know that though they slay me, yet will I trust you. I need to know, oh God, that I can speak life, oh God. I know that I can call those things that be not as though they were. Lord, I need you to hide me in the rock. I need you to come stand beside me and push me in the cleft of the rock. And it may be uncomfortable in the cleft. It may feel like it's a little tight in the cleft. It may be in the cleft where now I don't have wiggle room like I used to have. But because you have covered me in the cleft, and now when you removed your hand, I'm able to now see your glory, that I understand that no matter how tight it is in the cleft, no matter how it is, and I can't move a lot in the cleft. It might be tight in the cleft. It might be uncomfortable in the cleft of the rock. But God, your hand is covering me. You're there to show me that I'm going to protect you. Even in the tough places, I'm going to protect you. Even in the places that are uncomfortable, I'm going to protect you. Even in the places where you don't feel like you have a lot of wiggle room, I'm going to protect you because my hand is covering you. And then when I move my hand, you will be able to see that you're no longer in the cleft of the rock, but you'll be able to see my glory. You'll be able to see how I'm going to make a way where there seemed to be no way. You're going to be able to see how to run to the rock that's higher than I. You're going to be able to see how to get to the bridge that's over troubled waters. You're going to be able to run to the strong towers and be safe. So I don't know what you're dealing with, and I don't know what you left behind in 2022, but I'm going to tell you that 2023, look out for your greatness. In 2023, look out for what God is about to do. In 2023, God is about to do a suddenly that you're going to wonder, why am I having so much peace? Because suddenly peace is going to hit your house. Suddenly peace is going to hit your mind. Suddenly joy unspeakable is going to bubble up on the inside, and people are not going to understand why you're still smiling and why things are going on. Suddenly your family situation is going to turn around. Suddenly your finances is going to be an overflow, because today we have made up our mind that we're taking the lid off. We're taking the limits off of God. We're moving as no limits. There are no limits in what God is doing for us in this season. So suddenly, I'm going to have everything that God has promised me. Suddenly, I'm going to move in peace. Suddenly, I'm going to have joy. Suddenly, my family is going to fall in line. Suddenly, the addictions are going to leave. Suddenly, my marriage is going to work out. Suddenly. So what is the suddenly that you need for God this season? What is the suddenly that you're asking God to do in this season? Now I'm asking you I'm telling you right now that the power of life and death is in your tongue. So open your mouth and tell God, suddenly, this is the day that I step into suddenly. This is the day that I'm going to step into the newness. This is the day that I'm going to step into the overflow of finances, of peace, of joy, of instructions, of direction. What is your suddenly that you need God to do for you? This is the day that you say it. And as I said, tomorrow is this is the day. The next day is this is the day. So you proclaim, you declare and decree that this is the day that I will step into 2023, and I will not take names. I will not hold a grudge. I will not take people with me that God has told you to let go of. This is the day that I have a made up mind that for God I live and for God I die. This is the day that I take over. This is the day that I walk across on dry land. This is the day that I hold on to every promise that God has spoken over my life. This is the day that I walk in the authority that God has given me. This is the day that I speak to my atmosphere and I cause it to line up. This is the day that I speak over everything connected to me, that they will fall into line. This is the day that I understand who I am and whose I am. This is the day that I won't say with my mouth that I am more than a conqueror, but believe in my heart that I'm not. This is the day that my talk lines up with my walk. This is the day. So whatever it is that you think that you have that's a shortcoming, take it to God. This is the day, God, that I give you my shortcomings because I know that you are greater and bigger. This is the day that I trust you. This is the day that I walk in my purpose. This is the day that I step into the fullness. This is the day that I look back over my shoulder and I thank you because surely goodness and mercy is following me. Not just following me, they're chasing me down. They're trying to overtake me. But we're so busy trying to run from it. Allow it to run and overtake you, the goodness and the mercy. Because this is the day that we say 1, 2, 3, green light. Run as you never ran before. Seek God as you never sought him before. Pray as you never prayed before. Fast as you never fasted before. Because we all have something that we have laid before God that we need us suddenly. This is the day that we move in suddenly. I know that we don't know how to do it. We don't know how it's going to work. We don't know which way it's going to happen. But you don't have to know. You just have to know the one who knows. When you know the one who knows, when you know the one who knows the plans that he has for you, when you know the one who knows, then you can move, you can take it step by step because the one who knows is going to continue to guide you and lead you down the right path. He's going to show you the way that you're supposed to go. When you know the one who knows, you don't have to know every step. You don't have to know how it's going to turn out. You don't have to know when it's going to happen. You just know that it is going to happen because the Bible says that when you pray and you believe, you shall receive it. This is the day that I step out in complete, unmovable, unshakable faith. Because if surely Jesus can tell them to go to the lake and grab a fish and take out of the mouth of the fish what's needed to pay taxes, surely he can send us to where we need and tell us to grab hold of what we need. And everything that we need for that season is going to be in the mouth of what he's already told us to do. So what's in your mouth? What are you speaking in this season? Let's start it off the right way. And I know many of us, our church, are calling for a fast and calling for us to turn our plate down, calling for us to seek out his face. Give it all that you have. But don't just fast just because. Go in with expectations tied to your fast. Go in saying, God, I'm fasting on behalf of my family. I'm fasting on behalf of the things that I have going on. Write the vision, write it down. Write the scriptures with it. This is what I'm believing you for in 2023. Greater is me in 2023. What is it? I'm trying to hold myself together because I know that God is about to blow our mind. He is about to blow our mind. But we have to take the lids off. We have to move. We have to trust and believe. God has done 99% of everything. We just have to believe that 1%. That 1%. So as I am about to close, thank you all for being on Bridging the Gap tonight. Thank you and I know, let's make a commitment that we're going to run this race with diligence. We're going to run this race with peace. We're going to run this race trusting and believing God. That we are going to move as we have never moved before. That we are going to run and we will not allow ourselves or anyone else to call red light, because we stand in the authority that God has given us. And we know that the power of life and death is in our tongue. So we speak out today. 1, 2, 3, green light. Go. Run. Move. Do it. Trust God. Write it down. Shout it from the rooftop. If it's just that I brushed my teeth, God, I was able to brush my teeth today. God, I was able to give you praise when it doesn't look like anything is happening, but I praise you just because. And I want you to know that you're not moving alone. I say this every Thursday. If you need me, I'm here. If you won't need me to pray with you, I'll pray with you. If you need me to come alongside you, I'm going to come alongside you. But one thing I want you to know, that I will be the pace setter. And it's something about a pace setter. You go at the pace of the person setting the pace. We're going to run. We're going to run this race. We're not going to be stagnant. We're not going to allow the small foxes to keep us from running into the enemy's camp, from running into our destiny, from running into our purpose, from running into what God is calling us to do. Nothing will hinder us except for us. So I'm ready. Are you ready? So let's do this. I love you. I am so thankful for each and every one of you. Thank you, Miss Jill. How are you doing today? I know that greater, this will be your best year, because this is the day. I love you all. Have a blessed night. Yes, Miss Jenny, I'm ready with you. Yes, Miss China, Miss Jill, Miss Denise, we're ready. Miss Wendell, Miss Evangelist Dominique, Mr. Price, we're ready. We're ready. We're moving. Let's do it. Let's do this. Let's do this. We're coming alongside each other. Prophetess Judy, we're going to do this. Prophetess Denise, we're going to do this. We are moving. Dr. Price, Dr. Tish, we are moving. We have made up in our mind. We are ready. And I love you. Remember, there are no limits. No limits to what God is going to do in this year. All right, Miss Jill. Listen, I'm about to tie mine up. Let's do this. Because we have people that we have to snatch out of the pits of hell. We have people that we have to disciple. We have people in our family that need to see a light in the darkness. Let's do this. I love you all. You all have a blessed night. And don't hesitate to reach out to me if you need me. I love you. Have a good night.